Namaste everyone, this is a video about Purvottanasana, which is the eastern stretch, meaning the eastern side of the body. Traditionally in the Hatha yoga practice, you would face the east in the morning where the sun was rising to do your yoga. And so Purvottanasana, which is the pose that comes before Purvottanasana in proper pose, counter pose sequencing, is the western stretch. So the western side of the body is the side of the body that faces the west when you're doing your morning yoga practice. Eastern side is the face facing the east, which is the front of the body. So to stretch the full front of the body is eastern stretch, and this is a brief crash course because so much could be said on this, especially in context, in its relationship to the poses that come before and after in the Ashtanga sequence. And I don't really see the pose done very often outside of Ashtanga. Something called a reverse tabletop is sometimes performed. It's kind of something like that. And that's similar, but I'm going to give you two keys that will greatly assist your Purvottanasana, which is just a phenomenal pose. It's also a really good preparatory pose for handstand because of the extension of the arms. It strengthens the rotator cuff in a dynamic way that helps to open the chest and the shoulders for handstanding. And then what I'll take you through also is some posterior pelvic tilt drill that will open the lower back for the pose, Purvottanasana, and also help you get deeper into it. Okay, so I don't have a couch or chair in here, but I have this window ledge and a folded blanket. So I just put the blanket on the ledge and then take my legs up onto it. I could have pointed feet or not, because in the Purvottanasana pose you'll have pointed feet. Now I just want to find an arch and a hollow. An arch and a hollow. And it will help to externally rotate the thighs, because for the hollow part, where I really scoop and hollow the belly, I want to be engaging the glutes, especially the deeper external rotators and then glute maximus. So it's an arch and a hollow, arch and a hollow. And now if I point my feet and squeeze my legs like I would in the pose, and here comes really handstand training. This is training the posterior pelvic tilt in the handstand. And so I'm arching and I'm hollowing. And as I hollow, I keep my back on the ground. That was my back farting on the floor. And then, my butt will start to lift. And so naturally the progression will be to lift the hips on the hollow. So I arch the back, and then when I hollow and I lift the tailbone, maybe I lift the butt. I can even stay airborne while I go through the arch and hollow. But the key is I want to feel the hamstrings touching the sit bones, the ischial-tuberosities. So I have these two sit bones under each hip. Hold on. Feel that these two lines of energy down the back of the legs, the hamstrings, pulling the pelvis and rotating the pelvis. Okay? That's the precursor drill, and now I'll give you technicalities on the pose. So in the posture, it can be helpful to use a block to really emphasize that squeezing motion. I'll demonstrate it this one time with the block, and you can have the block on any setting. Like my teacher David Garrigue said, I don't care if your legs are super wide and your back bends, as long as you're squeezing inward. That helps traction the SI joint and prevents SI injuries, which a lot of people have that do yoga and that don't do yoga. So I squeeze and I'm pointing. The pose is coming up like such. So I want the hands 8 to 12 inches, give or take, behind the hips. Good handstand principle, so really flat palms pressed through that web space. If this is too much mobility required on your wrist, you just turn the hands outward. You could turn the hands so the fingers face back, but it's more holistic for reasons we won't get into now to have the fingers face forward. So right away I'm locking the elbows and I'm pulling the armpits down. Now with feet pointed, legs squeezing, is I want to find that posterior pelvic tilt using the back of the leg muscles. So my hamstrings pulled the hips into PPT. That's usually on an exhale, and then on the inhale, I keep that sensation as I lift. This helps me get the feet flat on the ground. If I don't do that, it takes my hips more anteriorly and my feet don't reach the ground. I have to arch more. So I bring the PPT, and now the stretch can go more complete on the whole eastern side of the body, which is the front side. From there, maybe you drop the head back. It's often effective, as I've shown in previous videos, to flex the head, i.e. tuck the chin, and then glide the head backwards to help access the scapula. From there, maybe you drop the head back or keep the head neutral. So I'll quickly demonstrate how it would happen in the sequence. Originally, it would be Dandasana to locate the hip flexors, and then Paschimottanasana to really elongate, awaken the hamstrings, and further engage the hip flexors. And then there'd be a vinyasa. Now, of course, after doing the pose and the vinyasa, I noticed that in my chaturanga, the low push-up position, I went dormant in my PPT. So the drill that we're doing here for Purvottanasana applies to so many poses, especially in like the Ashtanga or vinyasa practice. When you go through this low push-up so often, we lose our PPT. The lower abdomen falls dormant, and that's not good for the SI, and it's not really holistic. The effort falls onto other places that we're already exerting effort. So, even in me, this is a practice of how do I find that lower belly moving through these dynamic postures. So, I hope you found this helpful for Purvottanasana. I've had good feedback on this before, but I'd love to hear yours, so definitely comment below, and if you think this is helpful for other people, definitely share it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.